Hey guys, this video is all about doing dovetails on the CNC. First, I'm going to talk about how to design dovetails in Autodesk Fusion 360, keeping in mind that you're going to actually be making it. Second, I'm going to discuss toolpaths in Fusion for how to actually machine out the dovetails without having any chip out. And third, I'm going to show how I actually set them up and cut them on my CNC machine. And this will be broken up into 3 videos. The links for the other 2 will be in the description. So if you're interested in just that part, you can jump to those videos directly. Okay, inside of Fusion, let's go ahead and create a new component. I'm going to give it a name of the drawer. Hit OK. And when we create it, it's already active, which is what we needed. Let me show the origin for that component. Let's select the top plane, right click, create sketch. Let's go ahead and create rectangle, center rectangle, and I'm going to select the origin as a center, and let's do the size of our dovetailed drawer. Let's go 15 by 20. Yep, let's do this. Let's do 15 by 20. 20 inches, this one 15. Alright. And if I was going to do this for real, I would create parameters in the change parameters. Instead, we're just going to hard code it. Now, I want to offset these. Hit O for offset, and I'm going to select the edge here. And I want to offset each individual one, and it'll become apparent why in a minute. So I'm going to uncheck change selection. And we're only going to select a single curve. And the distance we're offset it is the thickness of our dovetail. Let's do 3/4 of an inch, and we want to go inside negative 7.75. Alright, and then I'm going to do the same thing for here. O for offset, and paste in this value. O for offset, paste in the value, enter. Select this guy, O for offset, paste in the value, enter. Alright. Now we can go ahead and finish the sketch. Let's expand it, and let's name this drawer base. Now we can start extruding the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and select this profile, this one, and this one. Hit E for extrude. And let's go by the drawer height. Let's say we want the height to be 6 inches. Looks a little big, let's go 5. And again, I would normally use parameters. And then I'm going to go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and rename this body. The long one's going to be the pin board. Alright, now let's hide the pin board and let's create the tail board. Go ahead and select the 3 for the other shorter region, extrude it, E for extrude, and we could do the same distance. I'm going to show the pin board, and let's just go to the top of the other one by selecting this, and we don't want to cut, we want to create a new body. Hit OK. So this is going to be the tail board, so I'm going to rename it. Alright, now we can go ahead and start actually drawing the dovetails. I'm going to hide the origin, and we don't need this drawer base sketch. Okay, I'm going to select this face on the tail board, and we're going to create a sketch on the tail board. Create sketch. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to hit P for project, and I want to project the one other board. We can just easily do it by selecting the body. We could actually do both of them, the pins and the tails. There are settings in Fusion to auto project. You can hide the bodies, and I'm going to rename this sketch what I'm working at, and we're going to call it the pins. And I want to create symmetrical ones. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to create a line that's going to be for mirroring. I'm going to hit L for line, and I'm just going to move the cursor down the left side until the little So the little triangle appears, and that's going to give me the center. Go out a little bit, drop a point, clicking, and then another one here. And then hit OK. I'm going to hit Escape to exit the line tool, and I'm going to select this line. I'm going to hit X, or actually I'm not going to hit X. We're going to just keep it here. And let's go ahead and add constraints. I'm going to just drop this to these lines here, and constraints are created. And so now we want to draw the line for the dovetail bit. And I'm going to hit L again. And so the dovetail bit would come in and go here like this. Now, to make it a little more obvious, let's go to change the orientation a little bit easier to see. Now we need to have this be a particular degree for the bits that we're actually going to be using. So I'm going to create another line that's perpendicular up. And this is just for reference. I hit Escape, select it, hit X to make a construction line. It goes to dashed. Now I can select the construction line and my other line here, and we can create a constraint for the angle. I hit D for the dimension, and we want to dimension the angle, 8 degrees. 8-degree dovetail bit is going to be used. Okay, great. So hit Escape to stop creating dimensions. I can kind of tweak this around. Now, what I'm going to do next is we want to mirror it against this line here. So I'm going to select this guy, type S for search, and type mirror. We want to use the bottom one because that's the one for sketches. Mirror that line that's selected, and the mirror align, the place where it's mirroring at, is going to be this one. Hit OK, and so that mirrored this shape here. And we could tweak it, and again we would want to parameterize it. We want to make sure that this bottom distance is at least as wide as your dovetail bit. So that would be the basic tail that we could cut out right here. So we're going to start with it just like that. Hit Finish Sketch. And let's show the tails. Hit Show the bodies. Let's hit the Home button. And let's show both just for easy use. Okay. Alright, so now we got to chunk this out. I'm going to select those two guys, and maybe I should have actually, in the pins, made the middle line a construction line. So I'm going to hit X and select it. Alright, so now I can select this profile here. E for extrude, and we're going to extrude, we're going to cut it out is what we want to do. We want to cut from this side and go all the way to an object, the inside here. You can see it's red, implicitly goes to cutting. And now we only want to cut the tailboard because that's what we're making right now. So hit OK. Alright, so cut a hole in the tailboard. And yeah, that's great. Oop, it cut a hole in both. So I made a mistake. Double click. We only want to cut the tailboard. Alright. Let's hide the pin board for now. Next, I want to mirror this shape from here, from this left side to the right side. We're going to go Construct and a midplane. Select this plane here, this plane here, and now I created a plane directly in the middle of those two faces. So now I can create a mirror. So let's do a mirror, and I can never remember where anything is. So usually I just search for it by typing S. So let's do S, mirror, select it. What do we want to mirror? Well, I want to mirror this hole, which was a feature. And so I'm going to go to Feature, and I'm going to select it, this in the timeline. And then the mirror plane, hit select, there's the plane, and then hit OK, and it chunked it out. Alright, we can hide the construction plane. We want to go and create a pattern to replicate this up and down on both sides. Create a pattern and a rectangular pattern. Perfect. We want to create a pattern of the feature. We want to create a pattern of the chunk out on the left and then the mirror on the right. So those two are selected. The axis, we want a pattern up and down. So I'm going to select one of these edges. And now if we drag up and down, we can see we're creating a replication of the tails, or actually the pin cutouts. And I want it, it's only going down, we want to go both ways. We also don't want to go left and right. So on the other axis, I'm going to go to 1. And the up and down, we could change the amount in just a second. But let's change the direction to be symmetric. And now we can add a few more in. So we need, it looks like an odd number to make it work correctly. And again, you can kind of space these out however you want, depending on the sizes of what you want for things. And this is another area where it's nice to make it parametric. I'm going to hit OK. And we created the tailboard, a bunch of dovetails. All right. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and work on the pin board. And first we're going to have to, we want to chunk out this shape from the pin board. And that means we're going to need to copy this over to the other side. And so we want to do it with components. So I'm going to start making components at this point. Right click on, or shift click on each of these guys, right click, and create components from bodies. And so that created them now as components. So this tailboard, I want to replicate, so I'm right click, and I'm going to select copy. I could also just hit Command C or Control C. Right click on my component up here, the drawer, and do paste. And I'm just going to hit OK and not do anything for it. What I want to do is I want to create a joint. So I want this edge over here to be over there. So I'm going to go ahead and do a symbol, a joint. It's going to be a rigid joint, and the position is the hard part. So what I want is, I want this little corner here to go all the way over to this corner here. But I want it to be turned like this, 180 degrees. That looks right. All right. Could also create a joint for the original one, a symbol, as-built joint between this guy and this guy, and looks right. So now everything is in jointed and can't be moved. Now that we have those two instances, we can work on the pin board, and we don't need to activate it because we aren't going to be creating anything new. We're going to be just modifying. I'm going to go ahead and hit combine. We want to combine, the target body is going to be this pin board, and we're going to use some cutters, the tool bodies. We're going to select cut. The tool bodies are going to be this side and the other side. Alright, so I selected both. I'm not sure why it disappeared temporarily. That was a little strange. We want to keep them. And now if we go ahead and hide the tailboards, you can see we have the pin boards cut out. So all we would need to do now is create a joint where this one goes on the other side. And that would complete the box, so let's do that. Let's click on the pin board, right click, copy, drawer, right click, paste. Alright, and so now this one needs a joint. It's also grounded right now, so I'm going to right click and unground it. So we want to rotate it around so that everything's correct orientation. So that means this pin piece needs to go over here. So J for joint. This little guy here needs to go right there. And then it's rotated wrong again. Alright. So that's the basic dovetail box. We would also want to add a bottom. Let's go back to the home orientation. Now there are other ways of doing this. Let's just do it one easy way. Go ahead and create a sketch on the bottom of one of these guys. R for rectangle, have it snap to each corner. And then this would fill in the whole area if I just filled it in, but we gotta actually have it fit in grooves. So let's go back and add that sketch. I'm gonna also rename it. Let's call it the bottom. Double click. So it might be easier to hide the boards. I double click on this guy. So we want to go into a groove. And let's say we want to create a 1/4 inch groove. Hit O for offset, chain selection on this one. And we want it to be out this way, negative 0.25, 1/4 inch out. Alright. Now I'm going to double click on this one that we already created, hit X to make it a construction. Finish sketch. Now we can show things again. Now I can select that bottom and we can extrude it. E for extrude. And we want to go up. And let's say we want the drawer bottom to be 3/8 of an inch thick. And oops, 3/8 of an inch thick up. For some reason it has to be negative because of my orientations. And looks like that would go up. If you ever have trouble figuring out where stuff's going, you could easily fix it by using an analysis. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's go inspect and let's do a section analysis of one of these planes. Alright, this should make this operation a lot easier. Back to selecting the bottom profile, E for extrude. Look at it from the front. We want it to go up, and we want it to go up negative 3/8 of an inch in this particular case. But we want to have a bottom offset. So the start is going to be the profile plane. We want to do an offset from that plane. We want it to go up. Let's say we want 1/8 of an inch on the bottom, 0.125. So that gave 1/8 of an inch inset from the bottom. Okay, great. So let's hide the analysis there. And we are going to take this oversized bottom piece. And in fact, let's go ahead and rename it to be bottom. Right click and create component from bodies. Let's do a combine. And we're going to cut out a slot for these guys. Target body is going to be one of the pins. We're going to do a cut, keep tool, and the tool body is going to be this guy at the bottom. And then hit OK. And we're going to do the same, combine for the other side. I'm going to have to choose one because of how we rotate stuff here. Alright. So now if we go ahead and look at that analysis, we can see we have a nice slot in here. But really would want this to be inset if you're going to really make it, because you need to have a gap. And we could just make the bottom be a little bit smaller, and that way we'd have a gap for expansion of a solid wood bottom. So we could go ahead and do that. Let's hide these guys, hide the analysis, go to the top, create sketch on the top of the bottom piece. P for project, and select that body. Okay. Double click on the outside edge to highlight it. O for offset. And let's say we want a 1/16 of an inch gap on the inside. And it needs to just make sure it goes on the inside. Alright. So let me zoom in a little bit. Now we can go ahead and we can select this little thin area in between, and we can extrude it out and cut this guy to be smaller. E for extrude. Let's see if I can select it. There we go. And we're going to extrude from there to an object, the bottom side here, and we're going to do a cut. Make sure it's cutting the bottom, and if things aren't done right, okay. There we go. I don't know what I selected wrong, but now it's working correctly. Now if we go and show everything, and we go ahead and look in analysis, you can see that we have enough spacing here. We might have wanted to have the bottom go in a little bit further, and so we probably would have maybe made the offset be a 1/4 inch plus a 1/16 of an inch, and then do this subtraction after. One other consideration is that if you are going to cut those bottom slots on your CNC machine, you're going to have a round edge on them, and so it might be better to overcut that edge a little bit. And so the way I handle that is I will just go ahead and offset the faces inside of Fusion for the bottom slot to be a little bit larger, like say a 1/16 of an inch. So to do that offset, I would take each of the sides, find the part of the slot here that needs to be a little bit larger, and just offset it. I'm going to type S and then type offset. Offset face is what I want. I want to select this face here, go to the other side, that face here, and we want to offset them out so it cuts it. We probably want to do it by the radius of a bit. So if we're using a 1/4 inch bit, let's go by 1/8 of an inch outwards, and then hit OK. And that way we can cut the slot and not have it interfere with the bottom. So that was a walkthrough on how I'd actually go ahead and create this, but the way I would really do it would be to use parameters. So you can download the version that I did, and if you hit modify, change parameters, I did the same thing that we did before, but for everything I input a number, I just used a parameter that I assigned to it. The advantage of this is that I can go ahead and change anything on the fly. So instead, if I wanted a 10-degree dovetail or a 12-degree, I could just type 12 DG, and it would change my dovetails on the fly to be 12 degrees. If I wanted to have the dovetail bottom be a little bit smaller, 0.5, and yeah, that's a lot easier to work with. So that's the basics on how I do the CAD in Fusion 360, and now there are a lot of other ways to do this, and this is just one way to approach it. You might want to just hand lay out the actual dovetails in the CAD based on the 8-degree dovetail bit and put the lines exactly where you want them, and that's totally fine. So stay tuned for the next video, which will be doing the cam and the toolpaths. Thanks everyone.